Hello, guys. Hope everyone is having a super healthy, a super good day. We've been always in a discussion about trying to generate and create more value in the path of pursuing a better career through product design. So, in that same conversation and through that same path, I came across a really special person and a guest that I'm really honored to have today to talk more in depth about, first of all, his journey, and second of all, like aspects and fields of value that could be really important to know and to be aware of within the product design spectrum. Today I have I'm really glad to have Jorge Benitez, experience and product director, currently also a colleague here in MediamarktSaturn, but also he had a lot of rich experiences that he can definitely share with us today. Jorge, I will let you give us more insights. Tell me also how you've been, how you're doing, first of all, and I will let you present yourself more to everyone who's here and trying to know more about you.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for the invitation.
You're most welcome.
Really
Hmm.
honored. And my name is Jorge
Hmm.
Benitez. I'm coming from Mexico, but I'm living in Germany over 10 years. Um, Basically, I'm coming from graphic design.
Hmm.
I studied like graphic design, but with focus in digital branch. And that is why or I started basically my
Hmm.
journey there, Mexico, and then after a couple of years, I was working in Mexico like 7 or 8 years, and I decided to study a master degree,
Hmm.
and that was basically the reason why I moved to Germany. And then I came to Germany. I am studying my master degree in communication
Hmm.
strategy in Augsburg, and then after the master, actually during the master, I started already working. And that is why at the end, well, I'm
Yeah,
stay here.
yeah, I see. So was product design something you were aiming for, or is it something you discover along the way and like sort of deviated toward?
I mean, I was always working in digital,
Mm-hmm.
huh, but I was more focused in the marketing and advertising part of the digital branch with agencies. But when I came to Germany, I started working with
Mm-hmm.
agencies, but there is like a huge difference
Yeah.
between Mexico and Germany in terms of, especially in terms of legal requirements.
Yeah,
And
true.
then it was like a kind of blocker for me. It's like you have an idea, and it was always like, yeah, but you cannot do that.
Yeah, I get you.
You know,
Uh-huh.
it's like
Yeah,
there is like some legal requirements that we have to cover,
mhm.
and it's not really possible to do that.
Yeah. In terms
And
of sorry to cut you off, but in
yeah,
terms of like legal requirements, I don't think there is any market that will match Germany, honestly, when it comes to like designing with legal
probably.
requirements. Yeah. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Exactly. And that is basically after the first experience, I noticed immediately that okay, it's not really working for me. That is what I went more in the direction of product design, and yeah, basically it is something that yeah,
Hmm.
it worked for me.
Yeah.
And since then, I am still working on that. Of course, at the beginning, it was more like a combination between the normal digital agency mixing marketing and product design, but I was more focused on the part of the
Hmm.
product.
Yeah, I got you. So before we move on to the actual like more get into details and the experiences or professional experiences, let's say throughout the journey and the learning journey specifically, what would you describe as the biggest struggle you had to overcome in terms of the technical skills needed to be a better or to reach out that status to be able to function as a product designer. In other terms, some people, for example, find the UI aspect of product design the most challenging to master or to at least to get a grip, a hold on. Some find the process in itself and or the pre-validation process also more of the challenging part to sort of capture all the aspects of it. it differs from designer to designer. For you, what was the most dreadful part of product design that like took you a while to get over, or to solve?
Yeah, I mean that. I mean, in my personal case, it's more not really like related with the
Mm-hmm.
tool, because I think that at the end, the different kind of softwares that we have, especially now, like the whole spectrum of
Yeah.
different design softwares, are pretty much the same at the end. Huh? But for me, at least, the most difficult part was when I moved from Mexico to
Oh, okay.
Germany, and that is basically because the language. Now changes a lot. I would say like in the last 5 years, 4 years, changed a lot in Germany, because when I arrived, basically it was like a really difficult to find a job if you didn't speak
Yeah.
German. I mean, literally in two interviews, they told me like, it's good that you speak German, because otherwise nobody speak German
Oh,
here.
okay.
And it's not like a yeah, exactly. It was like a really straightforward. But the problem is like, of course, when you are involved in this branch,
Mm-hmm.
let's say product design, uh, user experience, uh, and everything what is involved in the digital branch.
Yeah.
For me, it's always about communication.
Yeah, I see.
And of course, at some point at the beginning, when my German it wasn't so good that I can communicate like now, let's
Yeah.
say. It was like a kind of basic, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing, that it was like a really complicated, because first of all, I didn't express myself as I wanted. I couldn't
Okay.
basically explain stuff,
Mm-hmm.
huh? And that was, I think, the most difficult part,
I see.
and also the most challenging part, I would say, because in that case, I think that one advantage that I had is basically that I understood that I am starting in that case from zero. It's not like of course I had my actually I had my previous experience in Mexico, huh? But the only experience when I came to Germany, it was more like the technical experience in terms of the tools that I am using to create the user interface, or to create the flows, wireframes, and everything. Let's say the
Mm-hmm.
technical part was
Yeah.
there, huh? But of course, in terms of um, how to explain the idea behind what you are creating, it's very difficult if you don't know the words, if you don't know the
Yeah.
language. That is why, like for me, it's not really a struggle with the
Yeah.
software part, the technical part. Huh? It was basically from my perspective, the most important part, what it is the
Yeah, I
communication
get you.
part.
I get you. Definitely get you. I mean, it's probably the most critical part of is how to communicate your thought process behind every decision, and sort of to get into those conflicts and arguments, and to try to push into a certain direction. So actually, I think I slightly get that from time to time when I work on German projects, but thankfully most of the time I'm integrated enough to have like someone I can lean on for these situations, but I guess you weren't that lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
mean, of course, for the beginning, it
Mhm.
was like yeah, a problem. I was struggling with it, huh? But now I think that, of course, that helped me, because now I can work like in German, and also in English, and
Yeah.
also in Spanish,
Hmm.
what is my native language, uh, and that makes everything like a more easy for
Yeah, I
me,
get you.
because it doesn't matter now in which language I am working. Normally, I can explain the idea, and of course, I can communicate. And that is why, like even for example, and that is something that definitely will be always there, even that you have an international team. When you have like a team with a lot of let's say native German speakers, of course, normally it's like everybody will talk in German. And of course, they are so polite that they will always ask you, like, it is fine if we talk in German. Huh?
Yeah.
But of course, it's like, for me, it's not a problem. It's always like, actually, I always ask also if it is fine if we talk in German, basically because, I mean, I'm living in
Hmm.
Germany. The the project or the company is a German company, and of course it's like a essential part for me in order to create this, let's say, kind of or soft skills,
Yeah.
getting in touch with people, like having more like a, not would say like a personal
Yeah.
contact, but it's more like this emotional
Yeah.
contact with the
Integrate
person.
yourself. Hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. Well, it's working so good so far for you, I guess. But I think you're the one who told me that life is too short to learn German. I don't know if was you or whoever told me that. That was probably very, very valid in your case and in mine also, to be frank. But yeah, I think that's actually a situation that a lot can relate to. In fact, I for myself can put myself in your situation, and that's also one of the things I think we even talked about before, like what could be the inconvenience of working in Germany without having the language. I guess this also can put more light on that. However, we should also, I think, talk a little bit more about the up. So we talked about the low moments. Let's talk about the highs a bit. So throughout your experiences, I'm pretty sure like you worked within a lot of interesting corporations, interesting teams. I'm pretty sure for each and every experience you probably could talk forever, but I would love it if you could share with us a general, let's say, route, let's say the different companies you work through, and if you can focus or highlight one specifically as the most challenging experience and why that is exactly. I think everyone would love to know
Mhm.
like the different references you had, but also specifically the one with the most, let's say, learning curve, or the one with the most challenges. And I know that you have plenty of those. Like I already see the challenges you're taking on. So this is something I would actually want to know myself.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think that the most challenging project, and fortunately for me, it was basically the first official and biggest project that I
Mm-hmm.
had. It was working with BMW.
Okay.
Uh, at the time, we create basically the relaunch for BMW worldwide, basically for every single BMW market.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that is why like basically the thing what we are doing with MediaMarkt, why I got the experience creating platforms that basically you can scale,
Mm-hmm.
and almost everything what I know, it was or it is just because this experience with my first project with BMW. At the time, it was like I think it was actually the first automotive platform
Okay.
that it was completely it was working in every single device, and of course because of that it was like a really challenging because you didn't have like a bookmark or like something to have as a
Yeah, I
reference,
get you.
and of course I learned a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and because it worked, I continue working during a while with BMW. After that project, I was now I am
Mm-hmm.
freelance, but at the time I was working with an agency, and after that, basically, I was also doing the same, but for BMW M, basically the sport cars for BMW, and then the same, but for the e-mobility. What at the time it was like a kind of new, the whole electro
Yeah, I get
autos.
you.
I think it was at the time that with the um, i8 and i3
Mm-hmm.
came to the market.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a really, really the beginning of the, let's say, electric Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and from there, basically, I got experience working with this kind of projects. And basically, I would say like my, if I would describe what is my focus as a product designer or in general as a digital designer,
Yeah.
is basically the creation of this kind of platforms and digital
Mm-hmm.
ecosystems that they are working in. It doesn't matter if it is different markets, if they are running on different platforms, different devices, or operative systems, basically everything what is related with the scalability of the product. It is normally what I do.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
And from
mhm.
and from there, basically, I continue working this kind of projects. Sorry that I interrupt
No,
you.
it's so good. It's so good. Actually, I was gonna go in the same flow basically and ask you, so you can consider
Okay.
BMW as, or from let's say, company scale perspective. I know that the responsibilities vary based on the company, but from a company scale perspective, which is the biggest reference that you worked for so far?
I mean, I have working with BMW, with Mini, with Bosh,
Okay.
with Adobe. I don't know, Wirecard in the land. So Hoffman Group, basically because these big companies normally have the same problem, and that is like how to create these kind of ecosystems and make them works. And this is because now everybody is trying to do this kind of in this direction. Of course, there are a lot of benefits involved, but of course the complexity of it, it's quite of big. Now with MediaMarkt, because especially because there is a lot of people involved, different departments, and of course these departments you can also scale in through the different countries. That is why, like at the end, these kind of projects are kind of complex, and basically I have normally these kind of companies or big names because of that.
I see.
And now recently I'm also trying to, or not trying, I'm working with also with the state, because the new legal requirements in Europe that basically in general the whole state must be digitalized and optimize platforms for the population, and that is why now I'm also involved in this sector. That in me,
I see. Well, I didn't know about this, but you definitely made a decent network, and definitely even more big ups. And on the side note, like I really wish you to keep pushing up the bar for these companies. I think it's something every UX designer should or product designer in general should keep in mind, tackling or being active with this in this field, is that they can be indirectly or directly involved in, let's say, pushing the bar of digital products and making everyone's digital experience even better. So I'm pretty sure you already had your impact on this planet so far, but keep doing that for sure. Big ups. And this is definitely inspiring to hear. You mentioned something really interesting earlier about being a freelancer. And again, I know this is like a really big topic. And again, this is something we talked about also. But I'm going to ask you about the freelancer versus a full-time or employee in a different way. Let's say, sorry. So let's say, what's the tip that you would say, or something you would say for someone who's considering full freelance career that he should be aware of, and that you sort of discovered the hard way, or at least you had to learn yourself? Okay, if I'm gonna be a freelancer, I need to know that this is I'm gonna go through. So maybe 1 or 2 tips for any person who's considering being a freelancer and trying to follow that path, if you have any, of course.
Yeah, sure. I think that there actually for me it's not really like the big secret. I think that it's more like a personal decision. You basically must figure out what do you want and what is actually your path, in which direction you want to go. In my case, for example, being a freelancer is basically because you have the liberty to choose your clients, your time, when you want to take vacations. It is basically because you are owning your time, and for me, it's like the most valuable thing that I have, time. Of course, at some point, if you work like more, for example, sometimes that even as an employee, but of course, in this case, you can also set like you have this more more money,
Yeah, of course.
because basically in that case you are charging normally per hour, at least in my case, and that is why like I can I can have this flexibility never had.
Yeah, yeah, for
But of
sure.
course, I and for me, it's more like I said, I really appreciate my time. I do a lot of things that are not really related with design. Actually, since Corona, it's more like I'm more involved, let's say, and that is basically because I cannot do so much besides
Mm-hmm.
yeah, my job and
Yeah.
design, because normally it's like I travel a lot. Huh? Um, I work remotely, and that is also one of the advantages for me to be a freelancer. I don't need to be direct with the company or in the office, so I can be whatever I want, and it is really something. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, the other side is we had already some conversations, and for example, some designers they value like, okay, I want to be a design lead.
Yeah.
It's like they are persuade the position. They are they want to be, I don't know, share their knowledge. Also having some talks. And in that, like I said, for me, it's more like a personal decision,
Mm-hmm.
depending what you really want or in your life. Then for me, that is the answer. If you want to be like a more free and not really like related uh,
Mm-hmm.
to the
Yeah.
company that is telling you, okay, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Then freelance. If you want pursue it like okay, this leadership in terms of design and have this exposition, especially now that the design community is growing. Uh, Probably I would say like it's there are better opportunities because of course I mean, at the end, it's also like what I am doing is outsourcing, kind of consultancy.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, uh, of course, you can always like consult and say from your perspective what is the best approach, the best way to solve a problem. But of course, I try to not get involved in this, uh, let's say, in the way how the decision sometimes, especially in Germany, there's always escalation when when we are talking about the take decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That is why, like, I think that for some people, it could be something frustrated because at the end, it's not really like you are taking the decision for that you are doing, because there are, of course, another factors that affect exactly your job, and that is why for me, yeah, as external, I try to disconnect to this part.
Yeah, I see. So you're like a lean freelancer. So you're try to keep sort of your distance from the consultancy path, which is yeah, going all in on a product and sort of trying to firefight it, which is my life story.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that for me
Mhm.
it's more like in general, it's like designers in
Yeah.
general are very emotional,
Mhm.
and of course part of this emotion, uh, it's like if you don't have or you are having the feeling that what you must do, huh, it's wrong, or it's not. It could be optimized,
Mhm.
and at the end, you cannot take this decision to change it, even that you know that it's not
Mhm.
working. That could be really frustrated. Like I said,
Mhm.
designers are like a very
Yeah.
emotional, and then of course that part being an employee, it could be really frustrated because it could something that it kind of continues happen.
Mhm. Yeah, I
uh,
see.
that is the difference when you are
Yeah, I
outsourcing.
see. Well, for the emotional part, I think we can split it to 50-50, or maybe a lot of variants, but I think there is two main roles. So there is those who are emotional out of ego. designer's ego as an artist, or you feel like you have a certain output that you may have a better vision than someone who may not necessarily have the same product design expertise or design expertise, or let's say as an art, or let's put it more in the artistic way of things, of thinking. You think that maybe people not understand your art or your what you're trying to display. So there is the ego part, and there is the passion part, which is, I think it's more healthy, or it's actually a good thing, which is you feel like you want to create a certain impact on in a certain environment or a certain product, but you may not necessarily have the agency to do that, or the margin to work with it. So, but and there's maybe other variants, but I think in both cases it's coming from well, one is healthy and one is not so healthy, but still it's coming from a place
Sure.
of passion. So I think it's a good thing. And actually, most designers, and for me personally, I feel every designer I encountered that is excelling has a certain attachment to the job. Like it's more than just a job. It's there is a commitment to it, and there is also a certain passion to design and to whatever aspect of design he's working on. So yeah, I think it comes with the territory to being emotional, because you feel like you're closer to whatever it is that you're creating than whoever it is that needs it at times. It's a learning process, and like the toning down of that emotion, I think goes by time and by experiences. You probably had that toned down already. For me, I think like it's getting stable, but still sometimes I feel a little bit too excited about things. But yeah, I think I definitely get where you come from, and I think the emotional part can really summarize how most designers are developing through this journey of becoming a more and more senior, or more and more let's say valuable or high value designer. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think this topic specifically can actually be the subject of a conversation. But however, to spare your time and not take all of it, I think we have still a couple of points that we can still go through. One of which is, I personally have encountered you, or like gotten more intrigued about what you do specifically in building the ecosystems that you mentioned, but specifically design systems. That's what my encounter with you, or that's more the interaction I had with you. However, I always been intrigued to know more um, how you sort of I wouldn't say deviated to that, because that's part of that every product designer, at least efficient product designer, should at least cover or be informed about. But um, compared to other aspects that maybe not as um, demanding and as delicate, what made you work intensely, at least as far as I know, specifically on the creation of the ecosystems, and which starts, or at least part of it, is creating design systems? Is it a personal tendency of you think you can see yourself in that position where you sort of overviewing a vision, and or is it maybe something else that put you in that position over time?
I mean, it's not really that looking for that. Like, oh, okay, now I want to just to
Yeah.
search projects related with design system or that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
not really. It's more like I think that um, circumstances put me north that at the end I also working on the design system,
Mm-hmm.
but and that will be like a kind of polemic,
Yeah.
I would say. What I will say, um, and that is because normally, and in my experience, a lot of the design systems that I saw are more like a kind of pattern library. What is not the same as a system, because basically it's a collection of the whole UI elements that you are using, but of course the whole rules are missing. And the same as maybe sometimes you can find part of the foundation, like how to use the typography size and colors. Uh, but in terms of how to make this, whatever, if it is a pattern library or a guideline, working as a system, normally this information is missing. And that is because sometimes I think that is in general a general let's say, how can I say it? I would, I want to avoid to say problem, but it's
Yeah.
normally like the direction, or the same behavior between designers that we focus very strong just in the part that we like.
Mm-hmm.
Is like sometimes the it's missing the part that we have to cover, not just the part that we like. For example, normally with the design systems, the part of the UI, because normally it's basically when you see this pattern
Mm-hmm.
library, it's more like a collection of UI elements that they looks actually nice, but at the end, it's not really solving the problem, why you are creating a system, and that is
Mm-hmm.
inconsistency.
Yeah.
Because inconsistency is not just about the visual part. Inconsistency is also the duplications in the code, because the developers have no idea, for example, how to have this UI if they are working in different product teams, and they don't know how to implement it. They will be this element will be implemented in a different
Mm-hmm.
way. That means you have to find rules, not just for the visual part. There is a things that you have to consider, and that is basically also the implementation.
Yes.
And I think that because I understand this part of the implementation, and I think that I can talk with developers,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they can understand me, because it's not really about like okay, change this color. It's more like a more technical stuff. Um, Basically at the end, everybody noticed that what I am doing is basically something more like just like the look and feel of the UI and the different components. It's basically creating rules for every single uh, element in terms of the visual part, the behaviors, the implementation, how we can share this, how we can scale this
Yes.
UI through the different platforms, how we can scale it in through different operating systems.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how is, for example, the responsiveness if we are talking about web,
Yeah.
uh, how we can be implemented, for example, in a more sustainable way, and not just as a short-term solution. Like when we already noticed that there is inconsistency in these other ways, that it's not just the color of the button. They basically noticed that I can solve this problem. uh, And that is why, like at the end, I am landing normally in this part, but
Mm-hmm.
normally it's not really that I am looking on this kind of projects, or
Yeah.
that I am just like from the beginning, let's say, having the contract,
Yeah.
because the design
Mm-hmm.
system, it is something that happens at the end,
Yeah.
because also in my case it's like a really more profound evaluation of the use
Mm-hmm.
cases. It's like not really like okay, we are creating something. It's like a why we are creating something, what is the status quo of that, where are we coming from, and how we can basically solve it in order to cover so much of the problems that we have inside of the different parts of the
Yeah, I
product.
see. I see. So, in other words, I think we can also say that over time, as you harvested more expertise, and as you've been overseeing more and more of the product design process, you kind of gradually find yourself in that position, right, where you have to be more of in charge, let's say, or overseeing the different aspects that are maybe more critical than just simply executing the design in itself, but more overseeing the whole philosophy behind the design. So I guess it came with the expertise, with the trust. Also, I guess a lot of people gave you as they had to work with you and discover your capabilities and your mindset. So I think this is something to consider, that it's kind of part of the natural growth, I guess, of a product designer, that you eventually will do less of lesser execution and more of vision, overview, and let's say philosophy. Is that like a right way to summarize
Yeah,
it?
I mean, yes, and I think that in general, it's more like it doesn't matter if it is with the design system, but in the design system, you can basically visualize
Okay.
it. I work more like in a granular way. That means even if we are talking about the user flows, I try to go to the most small part of the
Yeah.
user flow in order to reach what we how we can solve the
Okay.
problem. And in the part of the design system, basically is the same. It's like because the system itself, it's granular. It's more easy to visualize this kind of approach because it's like that. You are starting working with small UI, and then basically you are starting creating bigger UI.
So.
And also it's about the reduction.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
What I said before, at the end, it's like I really evaluate every single use case in order to create just what we need, not more, not
Yeah.
less, and cover basically so much as possible with that is
Yeah.
why like in general that is what bring me normally to this part of the design systems. uh, but it's not like like I
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
specialized or something like that. It's more like
Yeah, I see.
something situational.
Yeah, all good. Thanks for the insights. I think it's yeah, we can definitely deep dive like into the whole let's say a journey that you got you into. So each and every experience actually went through. I'm pretty sure there is a backstory for each. However, I think I would rather use the how much whatever amount of time I still have with you to take a little bit more of let's say tools and tips, but in a diverse way,
Mhm.
maybe to more junior or maybe to a lot of also students that will be seeing this, and the junior designers who are trying to discover and find their step, like doing their steps through the journey of becoming more and more valuable product designers. Actually, one of the things I will start with is I'm pretty sure throughout your learning and also professional journey, there were maybe missteps. Hopefully not, but if there's any like missteps or mistakes or maybe things that you didn't take the time to discover, invest in, whatever, like anything that you feel from your perspective that you did and maybe that slowed you down a bit, or maybe you could have been better off if you didn't do it. I don't know. It could be following a certain trend, doing a certain technique, maybe using a certain tool or not using a certain tool. Anything that you consider maybe slowed you slightly, or maybe was not necessarily working for you through your either learning or your actual execution or professional career. Like, is there like maybe one or two things you can point out that you can also advise people to avoid as they grow into more and more into the product designers they're trying to be?
Yeah, sure. Um, Again, I'm not really so focused on tools.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in my case, maybe it's more like but of course, it is part of the journey,
Yeah.
doing mistakes and
Yeah.
everything, or just like take decisions, maybe sometimes too late.
Yeah. Exactly.
Huh? Uh, in my case, for example, it's more um, like I said, maybe I must came to Germany younger.
Mm-hmm.
I came here with 27.
Yeah.
But in that case, basically, like I said before, I work it more like in the advertising and marketing
Mm-hmm.
sector or
Yeah.
branch.
Okay.
That is why, like, of course, if I would take the decision to move to
Mm-hmm.
Germany, that means that uh, I would started working 100%
Ah, I
on
see.
product
Okay. Okay.
design from from a, let's say, from an early
Yeah.
stage. Huh?
I see.
But like I said, I think that's direct related also
Mm-hmm.
with the personal development of every person.
Mm-hmm.
It's like for some of us, like from the beginning what do you want to do, and you are looking exactly for that. And of course, yeah, there are some persons that you could be like 60 years old, and then you are discovering where
Sure.
you what are you pursuing in life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that is like I think that is the first thing, and the second one, in my case, of course, yeah, I choose a country with a really difficult language.
So,
That means basically this part,
mm-hmm.
learn the language, of course, takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Even like that, I think that I did it, yeah, pretty well, because I I started my master degree in
Okay.
German, so I must
Yeah.
to learn German in 8 months, 9 months. That is why like that.
Cheers.
Even like that, it was like a
Yeah.
mess. But yeah, but in that case, definitely, like I
Yeah.
said from the beginning, for me, product design, UX
Mm-hmm.
design, it's mainly about communication and understand basically people needs, and this contact with human
Mm-hmm.
and language in general is a really important part in this what we are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in my case, without the language, moving from one country and out completely outside of my comfort
Mm-hmm.
zone, yeah, that reduce of definitely the how I basically move forward in terms of my
Yeah,
career.
sir.
That is why, like in that case, it was a decision that I took, of course, but at the end, it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end, I would say that I basically just lost my time. I
Mm-hmm.
think that in that case, it's more like about the attitude that you have
Mm-hmm.
when you are basically facing this kind of
Yeah.
situation, and of course, if it is something that you really want, I think that at the end, like in my personal case, it doesn't matter if you reduce, for example, the time that you are having in order to reach something. Uh, because at the end, if you are sure that that is exactly what you want, it doesn't matter really the time,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end it is something that is valuable for you, uh, and that is the most important part.
Yeah,
uh,
sir.
and then if it is valuable for you and you are reaching, it doesn't matter anyhow how long it
Mm-hmm.
takes. Of course, it's something that bring you satisfaction,
Yeah.
make you happy, and of course, at some point, if it is related with your career, of course, at the end, that is something that it will be also value in terms of your career.
Yeah, sir. I sir. Definitely you killed my vibe a bit about the moving to Germany at 27, and I'm here. I'm almost 30, and I'm thinking like maybe should I move to Germany? So for you, 27 was too late, but yeah, but well, at least for me, at least I knew exactly what I wanted to do from the start. So maybe it's not the same situations, but still I get exactly what you said. The fact that you could have you could have had a lot of you could have invested more time into what you wanted to do if you came to Germany earlier, and maybe you developed more your product design career. If that what I say I could get from for what you just said. Um, right now, so I think the situation maybe changed a bit, and now that you're moving more into seniority, and also in a position where you are maybe put in a position where you are actively looking at profiles of designers, actively recruiting also designers, maybe for projects that you're working on. So maybe for more senior designers, they already established their references, and they already like sort of got into the system, right? So it's not, let's say, it's easy to transition from mission to mission, from job to job. But for a starting designer, in this day and age where almost everyone can have a fancy portfolio, and almost everyone can have some visual eye candy, what do you think, as someone who probably had to preview certain profiles and also like filter out maybe a bunch, what could a junior designer, someone who doesn't really have interesting references or actual products with output and presence and figures that he can talk about, what can they do to sort of stand out a bit with their profiles, portfolios, or anything to sort of get that first opportunity that is that they're trying to get as let's say in a decent user experience environment. I'm not saying like get any kind of job, but if someone is aiming for a decent start into a decent organization, corporation, whatever, what can they do to sort of show up or distinguish themselves from the bunch in terms of how they present themselves, in terms of their portfolios, their maybe CVs, or any other thing, maybe any information that you are right now looking for in potential people that you may collab with or that you may even recruit. So what do you have to tell junior designers or starting designers?
Yeah, sure. I mean, probably like completely, what I will say probably will be completely different what normally everybody say. But I think that as a junior designer, it's like nobody really expect, of course, that you have this experience, because you don't have experience, especially if you are looking for a job after the university. Mm. What I normally recommend is like the only thing that you can basically be like a kind of compete with other senior designers. It's more like the technical part, and that means basically your skills to work with the software, to work with Figma, to work with XD or Sketch, whatever it is. Normally, what I recommend is basically focus exactly in this part. Of course, especially if you are studying digital design, user experience design, the theoretical part you already have. That means basically what you need is just like start working in a project in a everyday basis in order to better communicate your idea, in order to know how it's in a real project, the environment, with stakeholders, with the clients, how it's really like okay, you are working now with data and you are getting some insights from the data, but that is something that it will comes in the, like I said, when you are start working. But if you don't really have the experience and it will be your first job, I think that when you are bringing something like a really valuable, and in that case for me, for example, as a junior, if you can take over the technical part and I don't have to be involved, and I can basically be sure that you can take over this part in a very effective way and also fast, of course, that is a plus. Because in that case, that means basically you can take over this part and I can just like be sure that you can deliver this. The rest, it will comes when they are involved in the meetings, when they are involving talking with the clients, when they are involving in the workshops that you have in the company. That is why, like, if you don't have like a real experience, if you want to approach from the UX part, it will be kind of difficult, because, of course, you can create something in terms of, let's say, a fictitious project, and you can create. Of course, you always must to show something like that, but the technical part, it is something that you can work from the day one inside of the office. And the technical part is something that you can basically be in charge from the day one in the office. And this part, from my perspective, is really important. And basically, my advice is normally you start with UI, in this case, and then scale onto UX.
Okay.
And of course, after that, then it's more like, from my perspective, of course, all in the direction of the technical part. But it is like a really, really important. because especially I think that in our community, in the design community, we always talk about the experience design, but the performance of the product is also part of the
True.
experience. If your product is like a really slow, it's part have a really huge impact. If you are open an application and takes like 10 seconds to be opened, it's actually like a 10 seconds, but it's like a kind of long time. And of course, that will have an impact in the decision of the user if they want to use your product or not. And it's not really related with the part of the UI or the UX. We are not talking about flows. We are not talking about UI. It is basically related with the technical part. And you have to understand the technical part in order to create a product in terms of reduction to increase the performance.
Okay.
And there are, of course, other parts that are involved.
Yes.
I think that um, uh, it's really funny, and you will laugh.
Already laughing. Yeah.
But you know me, huh? Accessibility. That is a completely new, yeah,
Yeah.
it is a completely new topic,
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
and that is something we have already talked about it, that it will come more and more, especially if you will focus on product design
Yeah.
and not in the marketing part of the digital.
Yeah.
If you are focused on product design, at some point you must to be involved with accessibility.
Yeah. True.
I think that this technique, for example, for example, even if you are a junior, if you start reading the technical part of the accessibility and how to improve your product, your interface in terms of accessibility, of course, it is a plus.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Even if you don't have experience, the technical part, it will not change if you have experience or not.
Sure. Sure. In regards of experience, would you any specific reference you recommend for people to start to discover accessibility, and to sort of get to know the basics, or to get to discover the topic in general? Maybe I have a couple of references in the top of your head that we can also, maybe I will share elsewhere, maybe in some description or some whatever it is. I'm gonna use it later. But for those who are watching, you got any references for them?
Yeah, sure. I can share some links with you. You can
Okay.
put it in the description. But normally it's like the international guidelines for the W3
Yeah.
that are the international guidelines for accessibility. Of course, it's like as a
Yeah.
designer, it's not the best way to create like a website that you have to read because it is a lot of information and really technical information. Uh, but of course, it's the most trustful
Yeah, I
information.
see.
It doesn't matter which company you think in this moment, they will take everything related with accessibility from these guidelines.
Okay. Makes total sense. Thanks. I will make sure I will add whatever links you sent to me. I think actually I remember because I already discovered the topic with you before. I think I have them already, but still you can send me. Maybe there is a few I missed. And yeah, so for you guys, so start with UI and scale into UX and accessibility. This is like a quick recap. Yeah. I think I already like took a lot of your time today. I would actually let you say or share if you have any last words, any perspective, or any thing you want to say out there, either for junior designers, for product designers in general, or anything you want to share. The stage is yours.
Yeah, sure. I think that now there are a lot of opportunities. And we are basically, in a time that everything it's evolving, everything it's going in a digital direction. It doesn't matter in which form. It could be like the normal interface that we know with our devices, like computers and smartphones. But of course, it has evolved into the whole smart home ecosystem. Basically, every normal product now it is kind of digital. That is why, like, I think that uh, don't be motivated, especially as a junior, if you don't find like a job like a really fast. It will come. No? I think that it's just like yeah,
I see.
to be patient sometimes. And the problem normally when you are a junior and you are struggling to finding a job, sometimes it is also because the same, let's say, the same behavior of the digital world, that it is actually everything like really fast, everything evolves. We are talking about changes in days,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
if you are working just like in one product. That makes more difficult, of course, for junior designers to find a job, because basically you or companies are looking for people that have already some experience, because they basically must to jump in the project and work with the same dynamic, this iteration, that everything must to be fast and optimize it, and sometimes that could make everything a little bit more complicated if you don't have the
I
experience.
see.
But at some point you will definitely find a job. I think that the important thing is like just to be there and don't be demotivated. Huh? And at the end, also, if you have patience, that will help you also a lot with with the projects. Huh? But I think that's basically my last thought.
Yeah, sounds about right. A lot of good vibes, a lot of positivity coming from your way. I think it's I double down on that. I think a lot has to do with the mindset, to have a healthy learning mindset and to approach the field with a lot of open mind and like realistic expectations also. And it has to do, as you mentioned, with maintaining composure. I think you can easily miss opportunities just by having the wrong mindset, even though you can have what it takes to take that opportunity, but approaching it with a wrong state of mind, or maybe giving off the wrong vibe, or simply either overvaluing or undervaluing your work can be a reason for you to miss out on opportunities. So yeah, I definitely agree on what you just mentioned. So all around, I think I have to wrap it up, because as you know already, we can speak about this forever, but I have to let you go.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm super happy, super grateful. So to have you today, and it's been really a fruitful conversation. It's actually been super fun, and I didn't even feel the time. Honestly, it's went super fast. Um,
Yeah, me
yeah.
neither.
So I'll make sure, of course, if anyone wants to reach out to you, if anyone wants to stay in touch, maybe to follow up on your work, maybe if you have some content out there, I'll make sure I'll add in some your social handles. You can send them to me, or even simply your contacts if
Mhm.
anyone want to reach out. Oh, something also important. Jorge is actually could be having opportunities, maybe. I don't know for sure, but maybe we could be having opportunities for you. Of course, I can let you describe the kind of opportunities that you may have, and if anyone could fit that
Yeah,
description,
sure.
he can definitely reach out to him in the whatever context or contact or handles I will be adding to this video. And yeah, so you can go ahead and share if the potential opportunities, or the kind of profiles that you may look for.
Yeah, sure. Well, basically, I am looking for everything: UX
Yeah.
designers, UI designers. In best case, if you can both, you can do both also, and actually also junior
Okay.
designers. Then in that case, if you are looking for opportunities, just let me
Mm-hmm.
know. We can talk. Like I said before, basically, in my case, is like if you think that you have like especially the software skills, and you could start working as a UI designer. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just let me know.
Sure. So there you have it. So not only some wisdom today, but also opportunities. So it's a menu. It's a menu tonight. So thank you so much. Really really thank you so much again. Thank you for giving me the time. Thank you for giving me also a lot of your information, and sharing with every one of us your journey. I think a lot of us, starting with me personally, I always appreciated these talks that I have with you. I think it's probably one of the most pleasant parts for me working with MediaMarkt so far is getting to meet you, getting to collab with you. It's one of the highlights of my career personally, and I actually mean that. It's not for the video. Yeah. So yeah. I guess I should wrap it up right now. So you take care of yourself. Hopefully we can meet up again on in such conversations and talk maybe over the feedback that I may get for this. Maybe if I have other questions, you never know. For you guys, so thank you for whoever watched the entire video. Hope it was useful and hope you found value in it. Of course, I'm pretty sure you did. If you haven't, then you probably have to rewatch it again. I guess I can wish you guys a good night, day, depending on where you're watching from, and see you on the next one. Peace.